I know you've just come out with Lord's Prayer with Alex.
Yeah, Love is Prayer with Alex H. Daniel.
Yes, and so well, I mean, it'll be good to talk about that, but just also just get a sense of what life is like for a singer, songwriter, choreographer in today's music. But I've got an international audience, and not everyone's going to know where you're from. So, where would you say where were you born and raised?
In England. I was born in Wembley, London.
Okay.
Middlesex.
Okay, Middlesex.
Yeah, I'm born and raised here.
Okay. Now, unlike, I mean, how did you get into music? Because, I mean, when we look at a lot of the American artists, they'll always talk about, oh, we sang in church and stuff. But for yourself, how did you get into music?
Yeah, it wasn't through church. I think music has a very spiritual presence. It had in our household as young children, because my dad was a musician, singer-songwriter, producer, manager, and he had a 9-to-5 job on top of that. But before he got, he was a fully fledged adult, music was his life.
Wow.
Yeah, so that was our influence in the home growing up. Like from A to Z, very eclectic music collection between my mum and my dad.
Wow.
My mum loved Elvis Presley and Paul Anka, and we always played like John Holt on a Sunday, or the Commodores, or Randy Crawford. But a lot of reggae music was prevalent in our growing up as well.
Okay.
So, like I said, from A to Z.
Wow. And so, where were you? Was it at home that your dad just wanted to teach you guys how to sing, or how did that
Oh, no. Dad really didn't play a part in like us being instrumental to get together, and we coerced him, actually, because like how kids do when you play games or you make games up, and we'd be like, oh, like kids do, singing to the hairbrush, pretending. And then it got to a point where we were miming, and then we just started singing together. It was mostly the three girls.
Okay.
I think I told this story a lot over the years, but it was mainly the three sisters that wanted to do something. And my mum was like, well, why don't you do a little performance for one of my dad's artists back in the day, in the 70s? And she came over and we did our little pretend thing, and our little performance. And she was like, oh, Buster, if they want to do music, you should let them. And he was like, no, man, no. School's more important. They got to finish their schooling, and then, we'll decide on that later. But she was like, they could still have potential. But Dad was always like, Mum and Dad, but Dad mainly because he'd been there and done that as an entertainer, a musician.
Yeah.
It was like, no, they need to finish their schooling first.
And that's something that's really, really powerful to hear, because he's had the experience of doors closing and recognizing also. I mean, viewers might not understand how I grew up in Liverpool, and being my parents are Nigerian, so coming to Liverpool in the 60s. And so there's that expectation, look, you don't want to struggle like we did, go to school and sort of stuff. But was that the mindset more so in not the industry, but more so just wanting to make sure that you guys were secure with an education?
I do believe, and I know that my mum and dad had a great education. They both grew up in Jamaica.
Okay.
But it was the case of, back then the Jamaicans believed there was a better life for their children here. Yeah. So both mum and dad came here as youngsters. But as far as schooling was concerned, my mum said she had the best schooling in Jamaica. So that was very important. And I think just in general, I feel that all parents want the best for their children, and education is a part of having the best chance in life, so for potential in whatever they want to go on to progress in. And that was the case. But my mum and dad wished for happy children, most of all. Yeah.
Yeah. Now, you mentioned you and your sister started the vocal stuff, but the actual singing, because I mean, I would love to. I tried to sing the Beatles with my brothers, but I couldn't carry a tune. So, how did you learn to actually sing to a point where yes, you could carry a tune to progress?
You mimic, don't you, when you're younger? You mimic, and then you have a go, and then the more you enjoy singing, dancing, whatever, yeah, it's a momentum of progression. And so that's how it came about, really. It was like, oh, we can sing, we sound good. It was always a 3-part harmony with the girls. You know, I was always the lower, then Denise was the lead, and Lorraine was the octave above, or the
Okay.
harmony.
But then who was out as female groups that you would look at? Because we're talking about the Supremes, we're pretty
Yeah,
a little bit further back. So who were you guys modeling yourselves at that point?
we weren't
Yeah.
actually.
Okay.
We weren't, but we had favorite artists. I mean, Denise used to sing along to Randy Crawford all the time. I wasn't really that musical, to be honest, Namdi. I wasn't that musical. I was more into netball and my sports, and but I had my favorite artist, you know, Michael Jackson, and I did love Dinah Ross back then, and you know, but like I said in the beginning, like from A to Z, a plethora of artists were always, you know, on our turntable.
Yeah. And so, but what about the dance? Because we've known you for the dance side. Was that ever more of a love interest than the singing for you?
Um, see, my brother Stead went to college to learn dance and theatre. Somehow I got pushed to the front, or I took up the responsibility. I just love to move and love to dance. So rhythm and music was always in the house.
Yeah.
And like I said, again, with kids, we do little dance steps and stuff. And I just stepped in and said, I know, I'll do this. And then we can all do this. And then again, a progression from dancing upstairs in the bedroom with the mirrors on the wardrobes to stage performances.
Wow. When you guys came out, because I moved back to Nigeria relocated to Nigeria with the family in around '83, just as you guys came out. So I kind of missed the being in the UK and seeing all that stuff.
Right.
But the only sort of Black artist that I remember growing up was Eddie Grant and Musical Youth, British sort of based stuff.
Yeah.
Was there a worry that, okay, you know, we sound good, we've got a good image, but do we have the audience? Because in the UK to be accepted?
That did not cross my mind for a second.
Okay.
I think when you're that young as well, because Del was 11 going 12, and then the eldest was 15. So we were just doing our work, basically. Dad, if any of those thoughts were going on, that would have been with my dad. So I can't honestly say that oh yeah, we thought about that, because we didn't. Okay. We just thought about having the performance down with the vocals and the choreography, what we wore, and you know, doing a great show when we went out there.
Yeah. Was it because once you guys did hit, you became, you know, you're not just talking about here in UK and Europe, but also in the States. How was it dealing with that amount of fame and stuff?
It wasn't hard at all. As well, Nandi, when you're young people at that age, like to start off with teens and, you know, stuff, and then early 20s, we still had that guidance and protection, and yeah, we had our dad there all the time. So having that support as well, you know, I want to say it was easy. And it was, in a way, because you trust, you have someone there to trust as well.
Yeah.
So you know everything's going to go like clockwork.
But you've gone from just your family and friends knowing your name to millions of people around the world. And I have to say, none of us, not many of us have been in this situation where everywhere you go, you're on magazines and Black Beat and Right On and the newspapers. Yeah. I don't know what it's like, you know, and for you.
Those were great days. It was all very exciting.
Okay.
It was really exciting because along the journey, you get to meet other artists or you see them in passing.
Yeah.
You know, and it was all very exciting and really tiring. I don't think enough people say it's a lot of hard work. All the traveling, the flying, you get there and you think you can sightsee. No, you go to do, you know, Soul Train, you do American Bandstand, Solid Gold, you do all the American shit, you travel around the world. Yeah. We were busy working and tired.
Yeah.
But when we did get to have that small break and enjoy ourselves, it was wonderful. But then it was over in a split second because you're flying on to, you know, do another job or another TV, another interview.
How was it like then being siblings? And you know the age gaps between you guys are very, you know, year and a half, a year.
We're close.
You're very close. Which did the experience make you guys closer, or was it was it frictions, or how was that like in those early days?
I think because it was good in a way because you know the personalities, you know the characters you're dealing with. And then we could annoy each other at times because we're so close. You know, so a bit of this and a bit of that. But I think there are huge advantages to being family and working together. There really are. And then there are some minuses, you know, as well as pluses.
Yeah. Creatively, did you guys get to, apart from the singing, and you know you spoke about helping with the choreography and the dance routines and things, but what about when it came to writing and actually involved in how?
I did help with the choreography. I did the choreography.
Yeah, no, I was saying that how you guys sort of got involved. Yeah,
I'm just being silly now. When it came to the singing and the songwriting.
The songwriting and yes, did your dad give you guys that opportunity to?
That was another new path once we got to songwriting, because Denise was already prevalently a great little singer and songwriter. I think the development of the other four happened along the journey, especially for me. I didn't consider myself a choreographer, didn't consider myself a singer or a songwriter, but these things, you know, to be great at, you know, I don't think a lot of people realize unless you try or have a go and tap into kind of unknown, if you like, talents and skills that you have, you know, and it's just to become familiar and have a go. I always say that though, Namzi, people should have a go, because I felt a little bit like I did the choreography, so that was my lane, so I stayed in that lane. But as you mature and you think, oh well, you know, I'm in studio, and I wrote mostly with my brother Del, so building that confidence is another thing, to have the confidence to slip outside or step outside of your comfort zone and try something new. And to me personally, the songwriting and the singing were totally out of my comfort zone.
Wow. But then when you and Del would write, would it be, how did you decide that Del would be the best person out of the five to be able to, let's try and have a writing?
It happened. It just happened because at a young age as well, Del got himself into production. with his drum machine, and then he'd get, you know, so he'd program whatever beats and sounds, the keyboards, the bass line.
Wow.
And he'd put it all together, and I'd hear it and I'd be like, can I write to that?
Wow, okay.
And we worked really, really well together, had lots of fun. And that's another element of the whole process. The entirety of everything for me is to enjoy what I do.
Yeah.
And I did enjoy working with my brothers and sisters, really.
Yeah, I mean, and you know, I mean, most of us who, you get to about 18 and then you know, either you go to university or stuff, you leave home, then only once a year you get to meet up with the family, but to have a career with them, these are memories that you don't lose and forget and stuff. And, but then I also wonder, you know, with your siblings, when it comes to, when say Denise is the sort of lead vocalist, were there elements of, oh man, why can't I sing lead? Or you know, I asked this of other groups who have the main lead singer and everyone sings background, and I say, look, I prefer groups that everyone sort of mixes around. So if the lead vocalist has a cold that day, we don't get surprised when somebody else picks up the mantle. But was it ever a case where, okay, well, Denise, let the rest of us lead a song or two?
Away. It wasn't. It was always, we were just happy, like Stead doing the designing, Lorraine did the interviews, Del did the production, and I did the choreography. So everybody played their role. And it was accepted and everybody was cool with it. And then you get the fans start requesting, well, ooh, why doesn't Doris have a go? Why doesn't Del have a go? And it was like, okay, so that was something new to consider, because sometimes when people have a formula, they don't like to mess with it.
Yeah.
You know, so I think the record companies were like further down the line when they heard Treat Me Like a Lady and some of the other songs I wrote, it was like, oh, you've got some other singers in the family. Never, I could not touch my sister vocally, you know, but I had my style. Lorraine has her own style, Stead, you know, and Del.
Yeah, and you know, as I said, it's never about being able to out-sing a sibling, but it's adding a different layer to a song.
That's right.
Yeah,
that's right. And I put it across in that way, Nandi, because it's like, as I said, when you have a formula and it's working and people are like, why change it? So yeah, the formula can work in other ways where there's a different flavor to a vocalist, you know, and that's how it went. And the fans, because they loved us individually, they had their favorites.
Yeah.
No matter what we all did, they were like, they absolutely loved it. They loved it. And I think that whole family dynamic was like a well-needed structure at the time. Yeah. You know, to hear and see anything from a family was wonderful. Internationally, it was wonderful.
Thanks for watching. Please remember to subscribe to the channel, but most importantly, to press the notification bell so that you can be notified when we do have a new interview. Loads to come, but thanks a lot for watching. I begin to